Kathy Marola?
Yes, sir.
Aye, thank you. As I look at the agenda, we have to come out of, we have 3 o'clock agenda. There's 2 items in there. Do we have to come out of one in order to go into two? Or are we handling both of these at the same time?
You can vote to go into both at the same time.
Okay,
And then when we come out, you can report what happened.
thank you.
Andre, you're all good to go.
Thanks, Sean. Good afternoon, everybody. It's the New Shoreham Town Council agenda for Friday, January 29th, 2021. If anybody's participating via Zoom, I would ask if you would like to raise your hand. You would press *9 and you would unmute yourself by pressing 6. Or you can watch on the YouTube, on the New Shoreham YouTube channel. Number one on the agenda, 3 o'clock, is discuss and act on potential acquisition of real estate where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest. This item may be held in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 45-565A5. Any discussions or considerations related to the acquisition of lease of real property for public purposes or of the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information would be detrimental to the interest of the public. And Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A7A, matter related to the question of the investment of public funds where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest. Public funds shall include any investment plan or matter related thereto, including but not limited to state lottery plans for promotions. Number two on the agenda is discuss and act.
Excuse me, Andre. You can vote on them both, but you need to vote separately on each one about going into closed session.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion that we go into closed session on item number 1.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
And Sven?
Aye.
I approve. Motion carries 5-0 to go into closed session on item number 1. So item number 2 would be discuss and act on a memorandum of agreement between the Town of New Shoreham, Rhode Island, and the New Shoreham Employees Association, Local 2855, Rhode Island Council 94, AFSCME, AFL-CIO. This discussion may be held in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4246-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session on that item also.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
Sven?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye. I approve. So motion carries 5-0 to go into closed session on item number 2. Kathy, is that all we need to do?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will announce anything we can when we come out of these closed sessions. And I thank you for coming.
You on the other side.
on.
Yes.
Thanks.
You good now, Amy?
Of course, this is Amy. Oh, okay.
That house, 1760.
Okay. So I'm seeing it online here. There she is. Pretty good reception. That's because they have high-speed internet there.
Right, so this is from the phone call, or this is on the
No,
YouTube?
this is on YouTube. It's live. Her picture was just there. I'm on phone. To do it on phone, I'd like you to, okay, I have to press star something. I can go back to online here. There she is. Star 9. Pretty good reception. Because they have the high-speed internet there.
You should be on
Right,
YouTube.
so this is from the phone call. That was a mistake.
X is mute.
Joe, we're gonna ask that you keep the screen off, the camera off, please. Thank you.
Sure.
Now your voice is working. Can hear it. Everyone that's on right now, just remember to stay muted until you're ready to talk. Otherwise, there's a lot of extra noise or conversations that may not be picked up. So we're just waiting for everybody, for people to get in. If you have the capability to rename yourself, go ahead and do that, please.
All I have is audio.
Also, because of the broadband, we just keep it to the voices, not the video. The council will be on video. So if you can turn your video off, thank you. For anyone that's joining, please go ahead and name yourself if you can, if you have that capability. And you'll want to stay on mute until you're ready to speak or be called on.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
So we're waiting for the meeting to start. Everybody's in the waiting room, right? It's waiting for the meeting to officially start. In the meantime, if
Okay.
you'd like to only use your microphone and not your camera, that would be great. And if you could name yourself, that would be wonderful too.
Hello, Pat Doyle.
The town council will call on you.
A lot of hands.
Pardon me?
Elliot Nirenberg here.
Oh, boy.
Right there.
Darcy Bacon here.
Sarah Bacon.
I'm sorry. I meant if you could name yourself on the Zoom screen. Thank you. Sorry to be unclear.
I'm leaving.
S- 6832, what's your name?
Keith Lang.
Thanks, Keith.
And number ending in 8421, what is your
This
name?
is Elliot Nirenberg.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're waiting for the meeting to start. Everybody's in the waiting room. Waiting for the meeting to officially start.
Where are we all here?
I'm looking, Mark's there, Sven's there, Keith's there. I haven't seen Andre yet, but there's so many people.
Andre's here.
Hello, Pat Doyle. The town council call on you. Pardon me?
Elliot Nirenberg here.
Right there.
Am I in? Hello, hello?
You are, Martha.
Thank you. I'm going to go on mute again.
Yeah, if the clerks just want to let us know when they're ready.
Right. The all council members are in. Why don't you start your meeting? Thank you.
Thank you, Millie. Appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. I just want to make some announcements about our 3 o'clock agenda items. First of all, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor? Sven?
Aye.
Martha?
Sorry, aye.
Thank you, Martha. Mark? Mark Emanuel, in favor of sealing the minutes?
You're muted, Mark.
I'm sorry, aye.
Thank you. Keith?
Yes.
Aye, and I approve that. Motion carries 5-0. I'd like to make an announcement that no votes were taken on item number 1. And on item number 2, one motion was made, and that was agree to the terms that were presented to the council by town manager Mary Ann Crawford with regards to the contract with Council 94 and the employees union. All those, is there a second?
Yes, second.
Second by Sven. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
Sven?
Aye.
And I approve. Motion carries 5-0. So with that, we will go on to item number 3, which is to discuss and act on the annual renewal of motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter moped rental licenses for the 2021 season, continued from December 7th, 2020 and January 20th, 2021. I'm going to open this up and let Mary Ann, the town manager, Mary Ann Crawford, give us a rundown of the talks, the fruits of that labor, the talks with the moped operators.
Sure. As I've stated in my report to the council of last week, I guess it was, that the moped owners and I continue to meet on a continual basis. We did meet Tuesday of this past week. We're scheduled to meet in another 2 weeks. During that meeting, we did discuss, had some more discussion because we had some preliminary discussions about a safety video, and the moped owners have agreed to come up with a safety video or design or run come up with a safety video that they will work on, that they would incur the costs associated with that safety video. And so I think that's positive news based on also the feedback we received from a number of folks. Also, like I stated in my report, there are a few other things I am working on as it relates to mopeds, about summer safety for summer of 2021. And as I stated in my report, it'll be premature at this point for me to get any details about that because a lot of the plans have not been finalized. I am still working on them, and I will update the council as we continue to move along.
Thank you, Mary Ann. For the purpose of discussion, I'm going to make a motion to renew the motorcycle license, the motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter licenses for the 2021 license year for Aldo's Mopeds, Inc., The Moped Man, Inc., Finnemore and Fisher, Inc., doing business as Island Mopeds, Miles Unlimited, Inc., Ocean State Bikes, Inc., pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, medical center donation, rescue squad donation, and licensing fees. Each license is for the rental of 34 vehicles in accordance with the ordinance of the town of New Shoreham, with such license to expire December 31st, 2021. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation on unimproved roads, and the following language. Quote, the horn on this vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion. Do I have a second for discussion?
For discussion purposes, I'll second it.
Thank you, Sven. So we have a motion on the table in a second. It's open for discussion, and I'll go to the councilors first. I would like to say, I see there's a lot of people here. If there's 47 people in the room, I would like you, if anybody has any comments, to limit your discussion to 2 minutes so we can, for brevity and time, and so everybody could get a word in if they'd like to. So does any council have any comments on this item? Motion? Mark?
Yeah, well, let's cut right to the chase and not waste any time. Over many years, I've taken my own survey on how we got to the position that we're now in regarding mopeds. And from these conversations with hundreds of people, I've highlighted, or actually lowlighted, 3 major deficiencies that were expressed. The first one was timid, delinquent, and oftentimes cowardly town councils who misunderestimated the severity of the problem. Number 2, grossly unachieving police force who administers little, if any, enforcement. And number 3, untrustworthy moped owners whose focus was generated purely by greed, not caring what they left in their wake. Now, if we address those 3 and start at the first one, we now have a new town council. And I am not in this seat, and probably the majority of us are not in their seats, if it wasn't for the fact that we said we wanted to address this problem and remedy it. Secondly, we will have a new sheriff in town in the spring. Door number 3 is the item that concerns me. we were just updated recently by Mary Ann that the taxi owners, I'm sorry, moped owners agreed to a safety video. Can we trust them to put together a safety video or anything at this point? Andre, you brought up at the last meeting the matter of trust or the lack thereof. So that concerns me. So at this point, I want people to tell me, especially town manager and town solicitor, not what we can't do, but what we can do to solve this problem.
Thank you, Mark. Keith?
Keith, you need to unmute yourself.
That's the most articulate I've ever been, darn it. Yeah, I think we have ample evidence and data that demonstrates that the current moped rental system is causing real public health and safety problems. I think we have a group of 5 licensees whose business practices are having an unacceptable impact on both our physical and emotional quality of life on the island. Just 5 people driving this thing. We've heard directly and with, really disturbing frequency from the people who we trust and frankly love, who take care of the health of our community, the rescue squad and the medical center, consistently that mopeds are taking a grave and dramatic toll on our community. And just as important, on the caregivers themselves. I mean, if you guys all spoke with those folks last summer, the emotional toll that last summer took on our first responders was unacceptable. We've also heard, as Mark said, very clearly from the community via the last election, via all of the phone calls and emails, via the Land Trust comprehensive and professional poll, that the status quo is unacceptable, and that frankly, the community, I think more than in the past, and I haven't been here as long as some, but I've been here for a long time. The community finds this situation unacceptable. Having said that, Andre, you raised the really important point at the last meeting that we have to view 2022 as the critical year for the moped agreement and negotiating that. But to me, that's just not a compelling argument against taking significant action now, and frankly, building a record that the current situation is simply unacceptable. We cannot stand for it anymore. Now, next Wednesday, I'm really encouraged by this. We're starting a conversation to talk about whether we need to update the moped ordinance. And in my opinion, we certainly do, because I think it is fair to say that our moped ordinance may well have been extremely relevant at the time it was passed. I don't think it's relevant to our current situation. I think we need to speak in detail on, beginning on Wednesday, including really important and valuable information from our legal counsel, from Mary Ann, from even other legal counsel, look at other towns, et cetera. And to me, I think we need to update the ordinance, and at the very least, I think we need to develop as a council an addendum to the licenses that we issue that establishes very clearly what this town's expectations are for license holders in terms of public health, public safety, training, their behavior, and articulates very clearly what our demands are for our own enforcement of those rules. So, I didn't know we were going to discuss this in the context of a motion, but I will not vote for the issuance of licenses. until I'm satisfied that a lot of those conditions are met. And in my opinion, the appropriate motion is to put off this discussion for 30 days. That is still taking action. We still have plenty of time. That only puts us into February, or actually February short, into early March. And we have a lot of people in town who are saying this is unacceptable, and we need to take the appropriate time, given the gravity of the public health and safety situation in town, and put this off for 30 days while we discuss our ordinances and a code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors have any comment? Go ahead, Sven.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear from a lot of people first, but I do want to put into context from Dr. Warkup, who sent this, and I just want everybody to remember it. In 2017, there were 30, this is from the medical center, 30 accidents and 2 air transports. 2018, 39, 2 air transports. 2019, 52 accidents, 4 air transports. And 2020, there were 67 and 11 air transports. So the curve, and I'm just providing that data from the health services, the curve has gotten extreme. And to everything that was just mentioned by Keith and Mark, I think we've got to, clearly got to do something. And I know all of us, I believe, agree on that. I'd love to hear from everybody else, but I definitely want to speak later. I just wanted to get that data out.
Thank you, Sven. Martha, do you have anything yet?
Was that the same letter that the medical center had, what they thought should be done?
It was the note from Dr. Warkup, and Mary Ann sent it out to us.
And that was, I can't find it. That was dated when?
That was last week, Martha. It was, I think, the night of the meeting we received it. It had the PowerPoint, correct? Sven didn't have a PowerPoint with it.
Yes, it was an attachment that you sent.
It was about 7-slide PowerPoint.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna find it.
Do you want me to forward it to you?
No. I thought what I was saying was I thought that this is a letter from Dr. Walkoff and Cinder and Cindy Bowdy.
No.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm reading the position statement from the Black Island Health Services, and that probably is more to the point here.
This is a PowerPoint from Dr. Warkup, and it's sent out on the.
No, I was only asking if that was part of the position statement, and I don't know if that has been listed. The 3 points he had were inebriation. They had inebriation, inability, and inadequate protective gear, which was helmets and footwear.
Martha, this is Keith. I think what we're talking about is Tom actually Dr. Warkup provided us with data about the number of life flights.
No, I understand that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you then. I apologize.
I was simply asking if you were only going to mention that and not what they were saying should be safety protocols that should be improved.
My goal in mentioning Martha was just to provide the data.
But you're not providing everything they gave us, which is my only point.
Mark?
Keith, I want to reference what Keith said earlier. How quite literally 5 island businesses are holding us hostage out here. And it reminds me of something similar that took place some 25 years ago when we had that 2 o'clock liquor license that was benefiting a handful of late night businesses at the expense of scores of smaller businesses that lost customers as a result of that extra hour and had to suffer through all the negative byproducts of that extra hour. Thankfully, after a long crusade, all too long, but it had a happy ending in that the town realized the right thing to do was to put the 2 o'clock liquor license to bed, never to wake it up again. So we can and should do it similarly here.
Anybody else from council? All right, we'll see who's in the public. Sarah Bacon, I see you have a hand up. Sarah Bacon.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. My main concern as the founder of Respect BI is really, I'm thrilled, Marianne, to hear that they have agreed to do a safety video. That's great news. And my response to that is who will have input on the content of that video? And how can we make sure that every single renter watches that video and that it includes best practices for safety and town ordinances? So I'd want, on behalf of Respect BI, I'd want to see an outline for the content of that video, or know who the working group on the development of the content would be. Now, that aside, my main concern right now is enforcement. Nothing will change without a plan for enforcement. Now, we have been suggesting a moped safety or moped enforcement officer, which several resort communities have. They are appointed annually by town or the police chief, and their sole responsibility is to make sure that the operators are complying with local ordinances, state laws, and training and safety and education practices. Again, the steps that you, Marianne, and working group have put on paper are good. But again, nothing will change without an enforcement plan. And then additionally, where has town council been on the enforcement you are authorized to do, given the consent agreement, which specifically states that 2 operators cannot rent from the same site? Everyone is concerned about congestion. If you enforced the consent agreement as you are authorized to do, we could take 34 mopeds off the road immediately, because 2 operators, Cinnamore and Hagopian, have been renting from the same site. So that seems to me like an easy way to reduce congestion, do what's in your rights as they stand, and take a stand. Take a stand. Congestion is an issue. There are too many mopeds. These mopeds are rented 4 or 5 times a day each. And yet you have this within your power. And I want to ask the town council now, why has that step not been taken?
I believe I answered that last weekend, Sarah, but I don't know, maybe I was on mute. If Kathy could explain that again this week.
Thank you.
Andre, I'm not sure what the question is. There are certain things that could be enforced, and I would need specifics as to which ones we're referring to now. There's certain rules of the road, there's certain rules about U-turns, there's certain rules about pedestrians in the street. Those are enforcement issues, which I think Marianne has said that she's committed to doing this year.
Kathy, this is Sarah. I can clarify. In the consent agreement, it says that each operator shall rent from a different site. No operator shall rent from the same site. And yet, for many years now, 2 operators, Mike Finnemore has been running Dana Hagopian's operation from the same site. And that is within the town's current power to remediate. In other words, until they come up with a separate site, you can take 34 mopeds off the road. And my question goes to, we have an enforcement problem in that we have not been town council has not been enforcing within its power to date, and we will not succeed in creating a safer environment for residents and visitors without a new dedicated enforcement plan in the form of a moped enforcement officer. And I understand that a new police chief is coming in, and that police chief should be very involved in that process. But it seems to me that the town can mandate the creation of that position, so that when the police chief comes in, he or she creates that position. And that would be a real signal to the community that you take this seriously. And it would step up enforcement practices, which frankly to date have been anemic and insufficient. And that's one of the reasons we are where we are, because these moped operators have been getting away with insufficient training, with supplementing the moped stock, et cetera, et cetera. And only if we have an eagle eye on those practices on a daily basis can we really know what is legit.
Sarah, we've asked everybody to
Andre?
keep it to 2 minutes, so we're going to have to move on to the next one, all right?
I'm all done. Thank you very much.
If I could say something, oh, I'm sorry,
I can
Martha, excuse
clarify
me,
that. May I clarify that?
please.
We very specifically asked this year, and are taking particular note of the location that is noted on the applications. The location for those two licenses you noted are separate lots. They are where they're supposed to be. It additionally is part of why we were, or some of us were so insistent upon having the license plates that both identify a finite number of mopeds and a prefix number that identified which moped belonged with which renter. We had intended to amend the ordinance last year to include requirement of a plat map with the license. Everyone agreed to it, and then we just fell into COVID world, and frankly, it didn't get done. But the locations are listed on the applications we have before us, and it is an enforcement matter, and truly, I think it is up to the police chief to determine how enforcement is done. I don't think it's up to any of us to tell the police chief what to do. As long as he has, I think that he or she will have an idea of the concerns that we have, but the actual specifics of handling enforcement, I think are best left to the professionals.
Thank you, Martha. Who was up there? Mark?
Okay.
I see Mark and Keith and Sven want to say something, so Mark, go ahead.
This gets back to Sarah's very simple question. We have a moped owner who's not fulfilling his agreement. And I love yes and no questions. And the only thing I like better than yes and no questions are yes and no answers. So I'll direct this to our town attorney. Do we have cause to either suspend or revoke not only the Hagopian's license, but the Finnemore license for being in compliance with him and renting outside of what he was allowed to rent?
Kathy Murley, will you answer that again?
Yes, I will. I will. If it is determined that that is going on, what happens is the town manager, the police chief are notified. The town council issues a show cause notice for a hearing for them to come in, and there's a full hearing on that. If it is determined following the hearing that that is what is going on there, the license can be suspended and or revoked. And that doesn't just go for the issue of who's on what lot. It goes for any of the violations that may occur by moped operators. So the answer is yes. If it's not being done appropriately, as established at the hearing, the license can be suspended or revoked.
I think we'd be delinquent if we didn't do that.
Kathy, can you follow up with that?
Yeah, well, that's a policy question. Legally, it's certainly doable.
Thank you. I think the question is, I thought this was answered last week. The question is, why do we have to give those licenses back if they've been doing this for years? And I think that the answer to that is that we never had the show cause hearing. So I think what Mark's asking right now is, can we have a show cause hearing now?
Well, right now, there's no operations going on. We would need the evidence, the proof, the testimony, the documentation to properly do that, because that would be appealable to the Superior Court. The record would need to be transmitted, and the court would review the evidence that was presented to the council and make a determination.
Thank you, Kathy. Sven or Keith, either one.
I just wanted to say, apropos of Sarah's comments, that I think it's important. Look, I spent a lot of time talking about how bad things are. I have seen nothing but a genuine commitment and seriousness from our town manager about being more aggressive about enforcement. And my sense from talking to her is that focusing on enforcement is an important part of her engagement with potential chief candidates. I have to say that there's plenty more that I think we can do. I was clear about that. I want to do more. As I said, there's a lot I want to do over the next month. But I want to say very clearly and publicly that I have spoken with Marianne a lot about this. Spoken with Andre about it, spoken with Sven, spoken with everybody about it. And I think there is a renewed seriousness and purpose for enforcement this summer that I think people in the community should be encouraged by and frankly should hold us accountable on.
Go ahead, Sven.
I'm just building on, and Sarah and I have actually had this conversation separately, but I think that all officers should enforce the rules. And I don't want to necessarily get a bar officer and a moped officer and a Four Corners officer. And I think the intent is exactly right. I have talked with Marianne a lot. We're getting a new chief in. Clearly, we have two new leaders within the town that I think take enforcement very seriously. And I do like Keith's challenge a little bit. Like, if this summer goes awry, and as we progress through the summer, if enforcement is not what we think it should be, that is something this council needs to take on. But I personally, this is my personal feeling, is I don't believe an enforcement officer is the right way to go. Martha mentioned some points, Keith mentioned some points. I think that enforcement is the police department and our responsibility versus one person. So I just wanted to let you know, many of the other points are great, but this one I just happen to be on a different point of view.
Thank you, Sven. Okay, so on the top of my list, I have Scott Oran, O-R-A-N.
Yes, First Warden Boudreau, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Scott Oran, Peckham Farm Road. I did send a letter to the council, which I'm hopeful you are in receipt of. I won't read the whole letter, of course, but I just wanted to urge you in a couple of things and point out a couple of things. One is not to rush to relicense until you've had a chance to really seriously consider the implications of last year's terrible 66 accidents and tragic death. Clearly, just building on what Sarah said, in spite of the town's settlement agreement with the licensees, I'd respectfully remind you and the town's council that the town's ordinances still govern, and they have to be enforced. And that is your duty as councilors, to enforce those ordinances. It's not a police action, but it's that. And specifically, with regard to section 8.79C, the town council shall consider basically everything it deems pertinent to the safeguard of the public interest, including the safety record of the persons renting mopeds. And as Second Warden Rism pointed out, the safety record has been abysmal and increasingly so. And I think it would be very fair before you reissue the licenses to ask each of the licensees what their plan is to safeguard the public interest and to improve the safety of their licensees. These are inherently dangerous machines they are renting to inexperienced people. And as some pundit said to me, this is an amusement park ride where someone gets hurt 3 times a week and dies once a summer. And in other parts of the United States, we would close this down. And unfortunately, people come over to have a good time. They don't understand the risks. And unfortunately, with the releases that the operators get from their unintending customers, they have no liability. So they have no incentive whatsoever to safeguard the public. So it really falls to the town council to do that. So I would respectfully ask you to.
Where'd he go? All right. Thank you, Scott. I have Alan B. up here with a hand up. Alan B.
Sorry, did I get cut off?
I think you may have reached your 2-minute limit or got cut off.
Okay.
Either one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alan B. He's on mute. Victor Hong. We'll come back to Alan B. if he's Alan.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm on a headset.
Alan B. Alan B, you there?
Am I on? B, but.
I'm looking for Mr. Alan B. Okay. I don't have Alan B. I'm going to go to Victor Hong and come back to hopefully Alan B.
Yes, I'll be quick. I'm the one who proposed the unique placards for all the mopeds. Because we need to have accountability. And I've been a long time visitor to Block Island, and I can tell you that I know people who have started to decline to come to Block Island because unless this matter is taken care of, they don't feel safe here. So long-time people I've spoken are going to other towns. So this is something that affects everybody, including the pocketbooks of the operators. And one thing I just wanted to let people know was that the proposal to use Walden Way as essentially a landing strip for all the flying drunk moped drivers, people should note that it's a public way and it's not meant for them to be using that to endanger pedestrians and other drivers, as I've seen during this past year. And I've seen the operators, rather the owners and the renters, basically swear and tell people to get out of the way while they're trying to learn. And so one way of thinking about this, as my concluding thing, is that imagine if we were to have people who don't know how to ride motorcycles come to the island and get drunk and ride motorcycles. This is essentially what this is. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, but we did address last week that Weldon's Way will not be used for a training ground this summer. The town will not allow that. So I hope that makes you feel a little better.
Yes, okay, so, but it's still happening, but okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Keith Lang?
Andre?
Yeah, go ahead, Keith, we have you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for your time. I've been listening to the discussion, and one thing I wanted to mention is, you know, if we have an issue as a citizen, resident of the island, with someone who works, either the chief of police or the town manager, when I don't say an issue, in other words, we have a disagreement, but at the end of the day, the town council, all of these people work for you, and we're really, one of the reasons that people are so interested in being on this call today is to let the council know that we really support something being done here, and that in turn will be communicated to everyone down through the chain of command. In addition to that, I think there's a communication issue here beyond the island, and I don't know what the town can do, but I would like to suggest that the town use, and I know some years ago when there was a problem over at the Surf with people partying on the beach and it was being communicated through social media, that somehow the town communicates through social media what is and what is not acceptable as far as moped behavior is on the island. And my understanding is last year, there was a lot of people who were, I'm not on social media myself, so I don't know, but that my understanding is that people were demonstrating to others through social media what could be done in terms of bad behavior effectively. And I'm just hoping that somehow, some way, social media can be incorporated into the way we communicate with the public and with the island in terms of what goes and what doesn't go with regard to moped behavior. That's just one of many points, but I hope that I appreciate your listening, and thank you for
We're
your
going to have
time.
to give you 10 seconds.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Much appreciated. Mr. Shorey?
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time and listening to me. I believe, hopefully you have received the packet that I sent through Molly, which is the analysis of moped police incidents reports, Block Island 2015 to Block Island 2020. I won't go through that in detail here, except to say that moped riding is an inherently dangerous activity where a moped rider on Block Island is approximately 80 times more likely to be involved in an accident resulting in injury and 35 times more likely to be involved in a reportable incident than all U.S. Automobile drivers. Motorcycle riders are about twice as dangerous as automobiles, so you could say that it's 40 times more dangerous than riding a motorcycle. That is an inherent serious public safety issue that I believe that you can address as a public safety. If you look more deeply into the accidents, they are generally caused by people who lose control on curves and other things, which I'm not a safety expert, but I believe that would be associated with excessive speed beyond what the people can do. You could conceivably ratchet down the speed of a moped down to something like 15 miles an hour, which I can tell you as a bicyclist is about what you can manage and stay fully in control if you're an inexperienced bicyclist. And that would probably have a major effect on your accident rates. So
Everett,
it's time to start saying, okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Everett. Much appreciated. I got Alan. Alan B., you there? Ready to go? I see you are. All right, I see you're still muted. 2125829. We'll get you, Alan, before the end of the meeting. Don't worry. 2582977. 2582977 has a hand up. I don't have a name on that one. Okay.
You want to go back to Alan?
Alan, you got him?
Yes.
Alan B. We're listening. Alan? All right.
Alan, your microphone is not working. We can't hear you.
We'll come back to Alan. How about Elliot Nirenberg? Elliot Nirenberg.
Hi, can you hear me now, Andre?
We got you, Elliot. Thank you so much
Thank you all for your work with the town council, and Marianne, for welcome as the new town manager. It's quite a job you have. A couple of things. I would support all of the comments that Sarah and Oren and Everett made. One particular question I have is, you said that Weldon's Way will no longer be used for training. Where is the training going to occur? Is my first question, because just saying it won't be used doesn't mean anything if you don't have another place. How will that be enforced? It comes back again and again to enforcement. And I appreciate that this town council was elected in good part because of your opposition to the way mopeds have been allowed to be used, resulting in blood on all of our hands from last summer. And I know that you want that to continue. So Sarah came with a suggestion of as other towns like Nantucket have a moped enforcement officer. And you're saying, no, it's the town manager and the police enforcement. Our police chief on the phone call last year, Zoom call, made it very clear he doesn't have enough personnel to enforce anything to do with moped. He washed his hands of it completely, which I thought was a disgrace. And ultimately, as town council people and town manager, the police work for you. They don't, not the other way around. And I think it was either Keith or Mark said, 5 people cannot control you. You control the 5 people. So I think it's important that you have input and decide what will go in video, and that you figure out where it's going to be, where these renters are going to watch it, and how that's going to be enforced. Otherwise, it's going to be another bad summer, and that we're trying to avoid. But I'd like the answer to where will the training be, if not Weldon's Way?
Thank you, Elliot. Daria, you want to take a stab at that, or would you?
Sure. My memo is up on a board, clerk base that I presented to the council last Wednesday. So feel free to go up there and you can read the memo yourself. I have here the moped owners have agreed not to allow mopeds owners to U-turn on Weldon's Way. John Leone is looking into having training sessions on the grassy knoll behind the moped man shop. He is engaged a landscape architect to come up with a plan and to go through the permitting process. Mike Finnemore has agreed to continue training his moped renters where he currently trains and will be using the property behind Seacrest to supplement the training of the renters. In regards to Weldon's Way, like I stated at the meeting last week, that we will be enforcing the traffic laws and anything as it relates to Weldon's Way. So I would just leave it at that.
Thank you, Marianne.
Andre, I'll take that further. It's not, first of all, thank you to everybody who's come forward. They thank us. I'm thanking all of you. I've tried to call you. I've tried to tackle you. I've tried all of the above you because of your valuable input. So thank you again. But as far as where their training is going to be, I don't give a damn. I mean, I do give a damn, but it's not our job to find training sites for them. All I could tell you is if we don't do our job like I want it done this year, then we should be tarred and feathered at high noon on 4th of July underneath the statue of Rebecca when it comes to this moped issue.
Sounds like a great idea for a float, Mark. All right, let's see. Selig, S-E-L-I-G.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Thanks for calling.
Sure, yeah, so, and I'm not sure, I'm over here with Elliot in the YouTube chat, and it just seems like the two of us. I don't know if you're seeing our comments here. I'm here with my husband, Mike. We own a house on Pilot Hill Road and have been coming to Block Island for almost 30 years. Love it dearly and are appreciative very much of the efforts that you're all making to try to solve this problem. I have 2 comments. One is about the dirt road restriction. Ours is, we're on Pilot Hill, it is a dirt road, and we're aware that in general, the little signs that are out there, either people don't see them or they don't care. There's no enforcement of that, and it's certainly a safety issue on those dirt roads, but it's also a sanctity of the community issue. So I'd like to put that out there for enforcement. But I think probably the bigger comment is I'm not sure what of value the mopeds add to Block Island. They seem to be a lot of trouble, and it would be our view that they should be eliminated over time and drastically reduced in the near term. And is there some reason why we can't move to electric bikes? That's what the whole rest of the country and world are doing. And I think it would be a much better option. So thank you for listening, and thank you for considering this issue.
Thank you for calling, much appreciated. Jessica M. 401-258-29.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jessica, go ahead.
Hi, this is Jessica. I've been visiting Block Island for the past 23 years, and I'm what many of you would refer to as a millennial. Not your typical listener of a New Shoreham Town Council meeting. However, I could not stay silent on this matter any longer, and I'll keep it short and sweet. This has been talked about for years, and with that, as we all know, has caused an inexcusable amount of deaths. Last summer alone should be the ultimate wake-up call. If we can't use last summer as a huge red flag that it should be, we'll never get this under control. Enough is enough, and I believe the safety of human lives should be at the utmost of importance over businesses who have seemed to ultimately prioritize greed over humanity. Thank you.
Good girl.
Thank you, Jessica. Much appreciated. Alan, are you ready yet? You got some, Alan, are you? Alan
Is
B?
this, I'm not sure, is this Beth Noonan? It's on 258-2977. Can you guys hear me?
Is that you, Beth Noonan?
It is, I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you, can somebody name Beth Noonan? 258?
Sorry, I'm on my iPhone. I don't know how to do that, so.
Okay, I see you had your hand up, so if you want to take some time here?
I do, actually. Thank you very much, and thank the other members of the council. As you know, and as I've set forth in my recent correspondence to you, I represent the 5 moped owners who, honestly, on this call are getting a really raw deal. I understand there's a lot of emotions, but my clients have been working with the town manager as set forth. They have licenses. They're seeking renewal of those licenses. There are no charges pending before them. There are no show cause hearings that have been issued. The licenses should be renewed. Full stop. That should happen. That doesn't mean that conversations can go forward, that the town council, if it chooses to, may amend its ordinance regarding the mopeds. But today, when the applications have been in and should be acted on, because the season is coming up very quickly, a meeting in March does not help the business in April. They need to rely on these things. You are sitting, the board, the town council is sitting as a board of licenses right now, not as the town council. You need to separate and understand that those are somewhat different duties. And if the town council, with the town council hat, wants to change some of the ordinance provisions, that's fine on a going forward basis, if that's, and we'll talk about those if we need to. But this is for laws that were in place when the application and the licenses were filed, the request for them. They comply with the ordinance in place now, and that they should be granted. It's not the end of the discussion, but to say that the mopeds are the cause of every evil on the island is not appropriate. I heard that last summer against the entertainment licenses. So I think, and I appreciate the comments of someone who said the businesses are working with the town, and they have. And I have said over and over again, I have no intention of standing in the way of that. But my clients are business holders. You are sitting as the board of licenses. You have a certain duty. And in my opinion, legal opinion, you need to grant these licenses. There's no barriers in the way to it right now. And we'll go forward and proceed as we need to on this season in 2022. But right now, I think that having this sort of public input, which is becoming fairly ad hominem at this point, is not appropriate to a license hearing. And certainly was discussed a couple weeks ago with the town managers. It was that just last week and next week going forward. But right now, I would ask on behalf of the moped owners that the licenses be granted. The issues that they're working on are pretty straightforward, set forward in the town manager's memo, and I think she's accurately summarized their positions on that. You know, the safety video, people thought it was a good idea. If people don't think it is, then that'll save my clients money. But it's meant to help and educate. If someone wants to be involved in that, let us know. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a good thing going forward, but it's not relevant from a legal position on the license renewals. And as I said, I think this council, this Board of Licenses, which are the town council, need to grant those licenses. And I ask that that be done on behalf of the license holders.
You're up.
Thank you, Ms. Noonan. I just want to, before I try Alan B again, I'd like to say that it is my policy to not, I have dozens of text messages right now on my phone, and it is my policy to not text during meetings. So if anybody has questions, it's in this, you can shoot, I don't know what they are, I'm not even looking. But I just think it's, if you have questions that are on my phone right now, please email them to the clerk. Thank you. All right, Alan B, you again, let's try this.
Can't get him on.
This better be good.
He's going to use his 2 minutes up. Alan, we'll come back to you. Nick Brown.
I don't know, but I think I have to raise my hand somehow, and I don't know how to do that.
You know, Alan's probably got like lobster rolls for us all.
Hey, good afternoon. This is
Nick Brown.
Nick Brown. Good afternoon. This is Nick Brown. I, just like everybody else, would love to see increased safety and safety awareness with the renters and the islanders. I think one thing that would help a lot is the safety demonstration that all the renters get. Now, when I was out there giving demonstrations to renters, I did it for about 7 summers, and I probably only had 1 incident in 7 summers, me personally. So I feel like if we improve the safety demonstration, it'll be better for everybody. Also, we also need a safer place, a safe place to give the demonstration. I particularly like Weldon's Way because it's a paved area. Training people on grass isn't realistic since they're not going to be driving on the grass, and it's not really safe for the renters to drive on grass or dirt, as we all know. And I'm also think creating a safety video is an excellent idea. And I would also think that we can make the safety video not only for the renters to watch before the demonstration, but also we can make it an ad on social media so it'll pop up in people's news feed randomly. So not only are the renters seeing the video, but people who are just out and about who don't normally look for mopeds while they're on the island can keep an eye out for mopeds, right? If it's popping up in their Facebook and their Instagram, we can also make the safety video a social media ad as well.
Thank you. That's something new we haven't heard yet, and that's much appreciated. All right, Joe Lipscomb, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for calling.
So, the only point that I want to make is it's great that the moped owners have agreed not to use Weldon's Way, but I will just make the point, they've agreed to do a whole bunch of things that they do not do, and they have not done. So it gets back to the same issue of enforcement that a couple people brought up before. We can make all the rules we want, but none of them are going to matter unless we enforce the rules. And, they've got their lawyer lurking on this phone call, threatening no doubt to sue the town and anybody else she can think of suing in order to get their licenses. And the point is, we can enforce, that's totally within our rights. That's how we get what we want. There's no way for them to challenge that from a legal perspective. There's no way for them to sue us because we're enforcing the rules. So I just keep coming back to this idea that you've got to come up with a strategy to enforce, and to just hope that the new town, the new police chief is going to do it. I hope that's true, but the town's had absolutely no luck doing that in the past. So I just kind of say that from my perspective, you guys should just be focusing on enforcement because the rules are all there. We just need to make sure they actually abide by them.
Thank you, Joe. And if we said it once, we've said it 10 times. And we know that enforcement is on us. The enforcement is on the town manager. We are going to enforce. I mean, I don't know what what else there is to say on that. How many times we can say it again, but I will say it again. We will be enforcing all the traffic laws that are on our books this summer. So I just, if anyone's got a comment about enforcement and lack thereof, I don't know how many times we can say this. We've all said it. Town manager said it. I mean, I don't know. It's not on the moped people to enforce. That's not part of licenses. That's not part of the discussion that we're talking about today. And we've said we will enforce. So, like I said, if anybody's got any comments other than enforcement, I'd love to hear them. But I mean, I don't know what we can say anymore about enforcement. Alan B., let's give you another try.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is that Alan B.?
No, it isn't. But I'll take his place if it's okay. It's John Walter.
No,
I am.
Hold on a second, John Walter. Hold on. I got you there, but hang on.
Alan, maybe you want to try to call in instead of going through the computer. Maybe try to do a call in.
Claire, you're up. John, I'm doing these in order, so just hold that thought for a second.
Thanks, you guys. Good evening to all. Just a few quick comments in response to Attorney Noonan's comments. While it certainly is your job to say yay or nay with respect to the licenses, there's nothing that compels you to do it tonight. And I think there's more than ample evidence that there's much, much more work to be done here. Furthermore, I would question, and I defer to Attorney Marola on this, that if you were to grant licenses tonight and then subsequently revise the ordinance, that there would be a legal argument that the licenses were issued under the former ordinance and not the ultimate amended ordinance. So I caution you to perhaps not do that until you've reached whatever modifications to the ordinance you intend to make. And lastly, yes, on capacity, Andre, I would on enforcement, to the extent that there needs to be an enhanced capacity to meet the enforcement needs. I have a question as to why the town would bear the cost of that and further enable these businesses to co-opt the resources of the town. So I reference the meager amount that they spend, that they pay into the medical center, the meager amount that they pay into the rescue squad, disproportionate, to my opinion, to the impact that they draw down on those resources in the town. And I can see that also happening with respect to enforcement. Chief Carlone said it. He doesn't have the capacity. I understand that you are going to see to it that it is enforced, but there's going to be a cost to that. And I'm not sure why the taxpayers should pay to enforce the moped operators to operate safely.
Thanks, Claire. Anybody want to answer that now? If they have an answer to that now? Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Claire brings up a great point. Right now, as part of the agreement, the moped operators give the health services $20 per moped and the Block Island Fire and Rescue $20 per moped. To me, that's blood money. That is the biblical equivalent to 30 pieces of silver.
I know, but I want to say to you that that's nothing to do with, we can't change that right now.
And that's what I'm saying. I would like to see that completely taken out and not be a part of something like that. And instead it be replaced with some kind of monetary number from the owners that take care of this so-called deficiency in our police department to address the enforcement problem.
I'm not going to listen to one more thing about enforcement. I don't know how many times we can say it. We're looking for a new chief. There's the chief, what happened last.
I'm talking about revenue. I'm talking about it.
You're talking about the past, okay? Everybody's talking about the past here. We are trying to hire a new police chief, which we will give directions to, and we're being held like we're not doing anything now. And I'm not going to listen to that anymore.
Andre, I'm talking about a revenue stream. I'm talking about a revenue stream to accomplish that.
Alan B., you want another shot at this? If not, I'll let Sarah Bacon go. Everybody's muted. Sarah?
This is
Yeah, hi,
Sarah.
can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to a few things. I'll be quick. One is, I believe it's Beth. Is her first name Noonan? But the lawyer's point was that there's no reason to uphold the renewal of these licenses. But the town council, per the ordinances, has an obligation to review the safety records of each moped operator before the renewal of licenses. And I'm curious as to whether that has occurred. One. Two, one solution, I know, Andre, you don't want to hear any more about enforcement, but past is precedent, and we don't have anything else to go on. And there's been no effective enforcement to date, frankly. I mean, Hagopian has been breaking that rule. Hagopian has been a more for years and years, and the town never had a hearing, and there's years and years of evidence, and a hearing never happened. Now, with the new town council, I'm not blaming this town council, but I'm saying this is why the community cares so much. This is why you're hearing from us on these points, because enforcement has been it's been in existence. So one suggestion I have is that you guys set metrics and for outcomes, as in if this summer you don't see, I'm making this up as an example, a 50% reduction in accidents per se, whatever it is you want, 50, 75, etc., 50% reduction, then XYZ, then you will take the following actions, and so will get their license revoked. But you do have this duty, yes, as a fiduciary for the
Sarah,
town.
you're coming in at 10 seconds, please.
Yep, that's it. Thank you. I'm muting.
Susan Hagedorn? Susan Hagedorn. I see a hand up.
Susan, if you could try to unmute your phone, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Hi, this is Sue Hagedorn. I want to ask about this video. Please, guys, don't fall for the idea that, oh, fantastic, a safety video. Making a safety video is complicated, and it needs to be guided by folks that know how to do health education. And if this is part of the plan to make a video, please involve those of us who know how to do it and know how to do health education. And the health center, rescue, the police department, people in the community know where the problems are, and it needs to be really practical and have application that's practical application. I sent you all a proposal for a video, council. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, Alan B., you're the last one.
No, you're not.
I only have one hand up.
No.
Anybody want to help me out? I see Gail Ballard Halls now. Gail, want to go?
I just feel bad for Alan.
I don't think Alan really exists.
I think he's going to come knocking on the door.
Gail is unmuted now. Go ahead and speak, Gail.
Go ahead, Gail. Gail?
Oh, here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I had like 3 different things to push. Thank you so much for having this and for having this, allowing everyone to speak. One thing I'd like to note, well, I wrote a letter that you guys all saw, and I appreciate you taking time to review that. When I heard Ms. Noonan speak this evening, I just think one of the reasons we're going through this process is because things have changed exponentially since 1984. And so therefore, I think there is due cause and certainly enough evidence to suggest that it is time to regroup and reconfigure the licensing that is on the table still at this point. I'm really psyched to see that they're not going to practice on Weldon's Way, but I think most importantly, in the notation from the town manager, it says Mike Fenimore agrees to continue training where he has and over at the Seacrest. Well, I think where he's been training is on Weldon's Way, unless I'm wrong. But so I wanted to note that. And I'd also just like to note that I highly encourage someone to make a motion to extend this series or this question of licensing for another 30 days. And I'd love to see someone second it and everyone vote to extend for 30 days. I know it falls into getting closer to busy time, but March 1st is still not busy on Block Island, especially if the weather's going to be like this. And that's my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Anybody
Am
else?
I on? Can
Who's
someone hear me? No.
Who is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Lisa Laurie. I'm a homeowner, and they've been unmuting me, but nobody's seeing that I'm raising my hand for some reason.
I only have
Anyway,
I only have one hand up right now.
yeah, I've done star
Oh,
9
wait a
about
minute.
5 times.
You know what?
I
Because
think she was Alan B.
you're Alan B. Wow.
Oh,
All right.
I don't know why I'm Alan B.
Well, now you got a handful.
Now, we did not expect
Okay.
that voice from Alan B.
Yeah.
That's funny. I don't know why it's coming up as Alan B, but my time starts now, okay?
You have a new island nickname.
Very nice. I agree that training on the grass is not a good idea because I think that gives them the idea that they can go on dirt roads. And I'm just curious as to whether they're planning on paving that area where they're going to be training, and that's what we need the permits for. The other thing is, really, when I know there's a lot of, I'm confused about enforcement because I've heard 2 things on this phone call. One is that it's up to the police chief, and one that it's up to the town council. So maybe that can be clarified for me, because if I heard correctly, when you first read the ordinance and asked for a motion for discussion, that ordinance, to my reading or hearing, didn't have any consequences of being out of compliance. So maybe this ordinance does have consequences for being out of compliance, but if it does, they're not, and I'm sorry for saying this, they're not being enforced. So any new licensure or discussion of licensure, I would hope, would have the consequences for being out of compliance very detailed, and also what the items of compliance are, which I think other people have mentioned. You know, what exactly are the metrics for saying that someone is out of compliance? And that's pretty much it. Maybe somebody can answer me about the grass lot that the training's supposed to be happening on. And also what Gail said about that area actually being on Weldon's Way.
Thank you, Lisa.
Signing off, Alan B.
Alan B. I don't know the details on that. Marianne, are you prepared to speak to that, or?
A couple of things really quickly. As it relates to any kind of ordinance within the community, with any town, or licensures, whether it's an entertainment license, a liquor license, a moped license, enforcement rests with town staff. So I just want to be clear. So if there is a show cause hearings, like the attorney mentioned, the council sits in the role of determining, based on evidence that is presented, as to what they may do with that license, whether it's suspended for a period of time or something like that. So therefore, the council is not the enforcement of ordinance or even state statutes in that regard, that rest with town staff. In regards to what Mr. Finnemore intends to do with the property behind the Seacrest, I don't have an answer for that right now because I did not ask him that question. And also when we state that he was going to train where he currently trains on his property that is located, I'm not sure what building's in front of it. Help me out, folks. Right across the street from Aldo's mopeds. In that property there is where he's done some training, and he'll continue to do it there.
Just so you know, Marianne, that's not where he has been training. He has been training on Weldon's Way. He hasn't actually been using his property. I'm really glad that he's committed to doing that. But as you've heard, that particular, those two that are across the street from one another have been among the most egregious offenders of using a public road for their private business purpose. He has plenty of property to do it, so I'm glad he's committed to it.
Thanks, Keith.
Andre, Liz Dyer has been trying to get through. Do you have her?
Yeah, I see her, but not her hand up. But Liz,
Can you hear me, Andre?
I can hear you.
Oh, first of all, thank you all for taking the time to address this. And I want to say that I think this summer certainly was exceptionally bad. I think the blood was just more visible in previous summers, but anyone who's been on rescue or worked at the medical center can tell you that by August 40th, you are pretty exhausted. I just have some general statements to make, and all of my thoughts got jumbled. And I think everyone brings up good points. What I have seen historically is that when mopeds are in accidents, they're not retrieved to go for any examination, and I may be incorrect. Sometimes I believe they're put right back on the road. So that would be my concern, that those mopeds, if that's not in the work of Sarah Bacon, that those mopeds are actually put out of commission, because there's also such a thing as operator moped failure. We tend to blame the operators and the owners, but sometimes it's the moped itself. When you talk about enforcement, I support that completely. I hate to think that we're giving bartenders the work of the police. I think the police have to have tools, manpower, and the authority to really promote safety. Because overall, I think we've all screamed for change, but accepted the status quo. And I think back when I was there, and I appreciate Dr. Warcup's data, we've spent a lot of time, and this summer was bad. So the last thing I would say is asking to review the waiver that moped operators, the renters sign, because I believe currently there's not culpability for not wearing a helmet. And dovetailing off of that, when we go to single rider operators, we know that there are packs of mopeds with 12 people in a group. So that would be 24 mopeds. And very last is my grave concern of parents who need parenting, who put their children on a moped like it's Rocky Point, and you have to be 3 foot tall to ride this ride. Those parents should be held accountable, because
Elizabeth,
it scares out.
You got 10 seconds.
No, I'm all good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. Much appreciated. I do want to go over to Beth Noonan. She's had her hand up, and then I got Claire. And I think if
Gotta listen to her again.
Walter's still here, after.
I sure am.
All right, hang on a second. I go to Beth and Claire and John. Beth Noonan.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. I just want to urge action on this evening and not kicking it over till March 1st. Again, because the business season begins earlier than when people actually get on mopeds. And also these licenses were to have been acted upon within 30 days of submission. which was the end of December. So, the town's already pushing the limits on the time. I think we did agree to continuance for a month, which was last week's hearing, I suppose. But I would ask that these be acted on. My clients have business rights. They do need to get ready for the season and know which direction this is going. So I would urge you not to continue it and to act upon it this evening.
Thank you,
Thank
Beth.
you.
Thank you. Claire?
Thanks again. I seem to follow Ms. Noonan each time. I just like to say that continuing this and discussing this is an action. So I believe the interpretation of the 30-day rule is that you're well within that rule. And I thought we were winding down. So I just wanted to be sure that we heard the thoughts of Andre, Sven, and Martha. We've heard quite firmly from Keith and Mark, but I'm just curious what the other council members are thinking, having heard the discussion tonight. Thanks.
You're welcome. John Walter?
Okay. First, I just want to say I appreciate what you all do. A lot of my comments have already been spoken, so I won't beat a dead horse. Certainly nothing on enforcement. But like a lot of the callers, I've been coming here my whole life. I've owned a home almost 30 years. The other half of the year, I'm here about 5-6 months. The other half, I'm in Barrington. And with COVID, a lot of my neighbors, friends from Barrington came here for the first time. And they were blown away at the beauty of the island. But they were very upset. I wouldn't say very upset, but they were saddened to see all the mopeds, some of them reckless, and they just were always making comments. They feel like, oh, we come out here, it's the Wild West, there doesn't seem to be any rules. A lot of their parents drop their kids off. They rent mopeds, and obviously, I'm following what a lot of other people said, but I just hope you all take it seriously, which it sounds like you are. And I hope it doesn't go back to pre-COVID of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I got one more. 860-989-7445.
Hi, Andre. Hi, Andre and the council. This is Amy Jaffe speaking.
Hi, Amy.
I just want to put a human face on this. In the summer, I started a project interviewing people about their experiences on the island during the pandemic, mostly people who are there full time. Just to share with you themes that I heard several times about the safety on the island and how the moped situation is impacting people's lives who live there. One mother said, I don't let my son ride his bike alone during the summer on the roads. It's not safe. Other islanders have said, we're afraid to ride our cars into town because of the lack of safety. So I just want to share that as an ending note in terms of what the human impact of the mopeds and the safety issue has on people who live there all year round. And, it's impacting their lives. That's all I have to say. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for calling. I don't see any more hands up. If anybody has a comment, give you a few seconds here to raise it or say it, or Claire, you got a hand up? You're muted.
No, sorry, I don't.
Okay, sorry.
You already called mine. Thanks.
I know, but your box just lit up, so.
Oh, that's just my shine.
Yeah, I think we all need to go get a little shined. Selig, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. I just wonder if somebody, I don't know who would be, one of the council members or the town manager would clarify, since we've had, I think, a couple of different comments about what is within the council's purview to do at this moment. Is it within your purview to deny the licenses? Is it within your purview not to consider the licenses? Are you somehow, is it sort of a done deal that you have to approve the licenses? Could someone clarify sort of what your options are for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Kathy Morello, can you answer that question?
Yes, at this point, the hearing is about whether to grant the license.
This is not a hearing on each individual moped operator's situation where we would be submitting evidence as to whether or not they were fit, whether or not there were issues. This is an issue about granting licenses under the current ordinances.
Is that,
So do you have, but are you required to grant the licenses? Do you have a choice?
That's a good question. I would just say, for me, anyway, for me, if I'm going to vote to issue licenses, for me, it needs to be in the context of a fully vetted new moped ordinance, which we're going to start the process of that next Wednesday. And at the very least, very specific code of conduct that we would make clear to the community and to the, more important, to the licensees. And I would like to see what kind of progress has been made on a video and solicit input from people like Sue Hagedorn and others who actually have expertise on safety videos in order for me to be in any way kind of heartened by the voluntary compliance of the moped licensee. So that's why I suggested that we put this discussion off for 30 days.
Lisa Laurie?
Thank you. It's Alan B. again. So, Keith, the question is for you. If you wanted to see a new ordinance, would that ordinance also address consequences of being out of compliance if the operators were out of compliance?
Thank you, Lisa. I think it should, but I really think it's important because we're all passionate, and God knows I'm one of the world's biggest Goonie birds on this stuff. So but it needs to be in the context of very competent and engaged counsel, because we have to. I firmly believe that there are a range of things that we can do, but I have not in any specific way, and I don't think anybody else has, engaged Kathy or anybody else in the conversation around what's bright white, what's gray, and what's black. And I think we need to have that conversation. I hope that answers it, Lisa, but that's what I feel.
Yeah, I just don't think that we should be scared into accepting this because, we're being told that these licenses hold up. And even if they go through for 1 year to save us a lot of cost and anguish for a year, we need to have a whole new ordinance with consequences and details laid out for 2023.
Yeah. I think it's great, Lisa. And I would also just say, for what it's worth, I've had the great fortune for all of 60 days to serve with Andre, Martha, Mark, and Sven, and nobody's afraid of anything.
Good. Glad to hear it. Thanks for all the work you're doing, gang.
Thank you, Lisa.
Claire, you got your hand up?
I do, again, because I think I just heard Kathy confirm or affirm what I thought and made mention of earlier, which I think is such a critical point, which is if you approve these licenses before you've revised the ordinance, these licenses will be issued under the existing ordinance, and therefore the status quo will continue. So I just wanted to make that point that if you're going to make changes, you need to hold the licenses back, approval of them, until those changes are made to the ordinance.
Thank you, Claire. Sven, I knew you were going to raise your hand.
I wanted to help you out, Andre. A couple of things, and I apologize to take a minute here, but I do want to make note of a couple of points. First, I really want to thank Marianne and Martha. And Marianne has been really working hard with the operators and has had meetings that have really pushed much, much further than we have in the past. And I think it's huge testament to her ability. I'm very encouraged for the town in the future. And Keith mentioned this earlier, but I really want to sort of start with that. And I'm thrilled, and actually was so pleased to hear that the operators have agreed on the video. I think some things have come up tonight that I think are really good and we could use some more time on. I'll leave the ordinance thing aside, and that's somebody else's thing. But somebody talked about, Keith Lang talked about sort of social media plan. How do we make sure that there's communication outside, and you know, whether that's the operators, whether it's the town. Okay, I think it's a really good idea. How do we make sure we're monitoring? I want to sort of think through that more. To be very frank, was very happy that the operators agreed to having their own training areas. The question of paving, the question of landscaping, Mary Ann's memo was very detailed, but I think maybe we can learn a little bit more about what each operator is planning on doing, and making sure that we get all those permits in place, and hopefully there's tar involved, or at least appropriate areas. Martha mentioned about the training areas being detailed, and I think that has been started to be identified, but I'm not sure if all the operators. And then also a safety plan by each operator, especially given the issue. And this is truly about safety and health. So I think a lot has been brought up today. I know that we have a very different town manager in place, and especially given last year with the COVID and everything, we definitely will have a different chief in place, and I have great confidence about that. But I would love to see some more details on the operators, about the videos, the operators and Mary Ann about social media, this idea of what do those facilities and areas look like. And I think that Mary Ann has done such a good, or excuse me, the town manager has done such a good job with the operators. I don't see why that can't continue on. I do hear Ms. Noonan worry about the beginning of the season. Many of us have businesses. We are all preparing for the season, and I don't believe that you know, end of February, March 1st, whatever it is any more of a strain than February 1st. So I don't know that a 30-day delay in issuing precludes any kind of preparations or inhibits any kind of opening for the season. And I think it allows us to focus on those areas I mentioned: safety plan, video, social media, paving, or preparation of the training areas, etc. So I just wanted to say all that. In preclusion, and for everybody on the call here, and thank you for your input, 2022 is a big year. The consent decree ends, it expires in 2022. There will be a revisit to it. There will be a big discussion about it. And that is when there's going to be, you know, significant dialogue, I hope. And so here we are constrained a lot, but I think the operators have been very, very open, working with the town, with Mary Ann, and I think the town's been working with operators. So I look forward to that, and I look forward to hopefully a healthy year, and then having those discussions in 2022. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Sven. Anybody else have any comments on this item? Mark.
Yeah, Sven brings up a great point, but if these moped owners truly want to be part of the solution, my question is, why aren't they part of this discussion? And if I can figure out this foolish device in front of me, anybody can. And I think if they were truly sincere about the concerns, they would be part of this discussion and hopefully part of remedying the problem.
Thank you, Mark. Much appreciated. So there's a motion on the floor. And a motion has been seconded. I'm just looking for more.
Okay, Andre, it's Martha.
Martha.
Hey, I just want to say one thing. I think in fairness, the moped operators have been involved in discussions since the end of the summer, I think since September.
I do, my friend.
You know, everybody knows
0070.
what's going on.
Nothing. Can you just repeat that? Somebody just jumped in on you. Just background noise.
Thank you very much. I think in fairness, we ask that people be represented at these hearings, and they are represented. They have been involved in conversations since last fall. I don't think there have ever been conversations that have gone on for this length of time with a manager, with a council person. Actually, the first one was last time with Ken and me. And they know they had a bad summer last year. Nobody, and I know this is a very unpopular thing to say, and I'm not afraid to say unpopular things. No one wants a repeat of last summer, including the moped dealers. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I absolutely believe that no one wants what happened last summer. And it's not, you know, obviously I would hope, obviously, there are a whole lot of traffic issues. We can't resolve all of them right now. We can make some headway with the mopeds. We are making headway, and I think it would be a mistake at this point to say, well, we're going to get the ordinance to be, we're not going to get an ordinance redone in a month. We're not going to, it's just not going to happen. I've been down this road before, and it takes a long time. It takes a lot of conversation. It's 6 months really to get a good overhaul. And I think we can do things. Our liquor licenses are all done, you know, issued, subject to all of those list of qualifications we have. I'm not in favor of putting this off. Neither am I in favor of stopping conversation. I don't want that to happen. I think we've had better conversation, more conversation. I know we've had more than we've had in a very long time, and I do not want to lose this opportunity.
Thank you, Martha Ball. Mark.
I'll just follow that up, Andre.
Yeah.
Martha referenced, as so many people do, last summer, as if last summer was a dramatic anomaly. It wasn't. As someone who spent almost 20 years on the rescue squad scraping up the negative byproducts of this awful moped machine, it's not an anomaly. These things have been happening on a year-to-year basis. Sadly, a fatality is what it took Block Island. But I've been on too many calls where that person's life and that family of that person's life is altered for the rest of their life. So to use just last year as a barometer is not fair. It's been going like this for years. The problem is we haven't addressed it. Everybody likes to compare. Well, let me give you an analogy. For 5 years, with the 4th of July out here, we were scraping them up right and left that weekend. And every single year it got worse and worse and worse. So it got to the point where something had to get done. I'm still scratching my head wondering why it takes so long on Block Island to get something done. Why do we need something so negative to start the ball rolling here? But I assure you, much like Keith and Sven and the rest of the gang have said, we are addressing this problem. And when we further discuss it, we're going to be talking about more restrictions in hopes that the moped owners will comply with that for this upcoming summer, knowing full well we have to wait for the true discussion in another year's time. Things like being 25 years or older to actually rent one of these, no children below a certain age as a passenger. We will be discussing these in the next 30 days in hopes of applying them for the upcoming summer.
Thank you, Mark. Marianne, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what was in my memo to the council last week.
Marianne, you're having trouble with audio.
Can you hear me now?
It's like you got you're going through a skid with a broken cone.
How about now?
Much
Better.
better. Thank you.
Better? Yeah, shut it off and turn it back on. What a novel idea. I just want to remind the council of the memo that I forwarded to you back on January 14th. The moped owners and I know we are nowhere near done. You know, the expectation is that that the meetings we've been having will continue through the spring and the summer months. All agree it is important to evaluate decisions, progress, improvements, and continue to tweak recommendations as once the summer is in full swing. The document I presented to you is a living document, and we will continue to make changes. We'll continue to think this through. And there was a couple other things the moped owners did come up with at the last meeting, like I said, that at this point we're not prepared to come forward with, and some ideas. One of the ideas that came out of the meeting specifically with the moped owners, it was regarding the delivery trucks. And Lieutenant Dean is currently working with the delivery truck owners to see if we can somehow adjust that also. So there's a lot going on, and we're continuing that, and obviously we're not going to stop.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate it. All right. I am going to go back into here, make sure everybody's had a word if they want one. I see no more hands raised. And counselors, if you don't have any more comments, questions, or anything like that, I'm going to call a vote. So motion has been made on the table.
Can I hear that motion again, please, Andre?
Hang on. The motion that I made was to renew the motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter licenses for the 2021 license year for Aldo's Mopeds, Inc., The Moped Man, Inc., Finnemore and Fisher, Inc., doing business as Island Mopeds, Miles Unlimited, Ocean State Bikes, pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, medical center donation, rescue squad donation, and licensing fees. Each license is for the rental of 34 vehicles in accordance with the ordinance of the town of New Shoreham, with such license to expire December 31st, 2021. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation of unimproved roads, in the following language, quote, "The horn on this vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion," end quotes. That is the motion that's on the table, made by myself and seconded by Second Warden Sven Riesel. All those in favor?
Andre, it's Martha, before you do this, would you be willing to amend that to include, even though I think it's self-explanatory, locations to be as presented on application?
I will amend my motion. Okay, I'll amend the motion to say, a motion would be in order to renew motorized tricycle, bicycle. You're lucky I like to read, Martha. The motion would be in order to renew the motorized tricycle, bicycle, and scooter licenses for the 2021 license year for Aldo's Mopeds, The Moped Man Incorporated, Finnemore and Fisher, including Inc., doing business as Island Mopeds, Miles Unlimited, Inc., Ocean State Bikes, Inc., pending receipt of registration numbers as issued by the state of Rhode Island, vehicle identification numbers as issued by the manufacturer of each vehicle, medical center donation, rescue squad donations, and licensing fees. Each license is for the rental of 34 vehicles in accordance with the ordinances of the town of New Shoreham, with such license to expire December 31st, 2021. Any lease agreement between a moped renter and the licensee shall include hours of operation, safety features, information regarding operation of unimproved roads, in the following language. The horn on this vehicle is a piece of equipment designed for emergency use and should be used only in this fashion. In addition, how would you like that on the end of that, Martha?
The areas of operation to be as stated in the application.
In addition,
A
areas.
rental application to
In,
be as stated in the application.
in addition, the area of rental shall be as stated in the initial application. Is that good?
Yes.
Thank you. So that was amended. Do I have a second on that amendment?
I'll amend it
I'll
for,
second it.
I amend my second.
Thank you.
Ben amends his second. All those in favor?
With that,
Oh,
I have comment.
okay.
Want me to go?
Go ahead, Keith.
I'm a no on this. I'll be voting no, as I said. And if it goes down, I'll be immediately making a motion to continue this discussion for 30 days while we review the existing underlying ordinance and potentially develop a code of conduct from the town to the moped operators in the community.
Okay, hang on a minute, Keith. Mark, do you have a question on the motion? Mark.
yes, I just want to remind my fellow council members that if we vote in favor of this, it forecloses any options we have of some productive dialogue in the next 30 days to address some of the true issues we'd like to see addressed for this upcoming summer. So I too will be voting against it.
Okay, so all those in favor, Mark?
No.
Ben?
Nope.
Keith?
No.
Martha?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion does not pass by a vote of 3-2. Keith?
I would like to make a motion that we continue this matter for 30 days, pending ongoing conversations about our underlying moped ordinance and potentially the development of a code of conduct that would be delivered from the town to the community and to the moped licensees.
Second.
Okay, there's motion been made.
What day is today?
29th.
Okay, I just want to be sure we're taking this to a day that is a meeting day.
That's a good point.
All right, well, a motion has been made and seconded. I see a hand up for discussion.
I
Sven?
think we have a meeting scheduled for Monday, March 1st, looks like. Oh, no, that's the budget timetable.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm going to let Beth Noonan have a word. Beth Noonan?
Why? What? I mean, is this?
The motion has been made and seconded, and there's discussion.
Okay. I thought we were discussing it among the council. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well, while you get your stuff together, maybe she maybe she doesn't have her hand up anymore, but.
Okay.
Hi, Andre.
Go
You
ahead.
guys got- Thank you. I just want to be clear. If I understand what the council just did was they denied the licenses, so I don't understand what's being continued. The licenses are off the table.
Exactly.
Right? You've denied them. There's nothing to continue. I
March
have to
1st is a
remedy now.
meeting day, correct?
I have to go to
March
court.
1st is a meeting day, right? Okay.
But there's nothing to act upon. That's my point. You've denied the licenses. I now have to seek remedies through the courts, which I'll have to do because they've been denied. So it is out of your jurisdiction because you've denied the licenses and now effectively put it into my hands to appeal.
Kathy,
Okay.
hold on.
Yeah,
He's right.
Keith, let me just get an opinion on Kathy on that. I think what the councilors are trying to do here is just to get the discussion on the renewal continued for a month. Is that Keith? Keith, go ahead, speak.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm just wondering if Kathy or Marianne can give us the approach for a reconsideration, if that's the case, because I think Beth is right. We have rejected the licenses. That, as I said, was not my intent, but it was the motion before us. So if we can reconsider that vote and then postpone action for 30 days, I think that would be fine for me.
That would be my
At this point,
recommendation.
And that is my recommendation too.
So can I make a motion to reconsider the last action?
Yes, you can make a motion to reconsider the last action and put it down for whatever the next date is going to be, and the council may vote on that.
I would make a motion to reconsider our last action. So I think we need to do the motion for reconsideration, get that back before the council, and then do the continuation, if I understand it correctly, Kathy, right?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion for reconsideration of the last action.
Second.
Motion has been made by Keith, seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Martha?
Aye.
Keith?
Am I muted?
Yes.
No, you're all set, Martha. Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
And I am also in favor. Motion to reconsider passes by a vote of 5-0.
So that's now before us. I'm going to make a motion that we continue that matter for 30 days, the closest council meeting to 30 days. If it's March 1st, that's fine. Pending a conversation about the I would just move continuation for 30 days. Thank you.
We have if I may, we have a meeting on March 1st, if that helps.
Can you just schedule that for March 1st and I'll second it? Keith?
Yes, March 1st.
Second.
We good with the scheduling on that, March 1st? A motion has been placed on the table and seconded. Motion has been placed on the table by Keith and seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Martha?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Momo? Mark?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Motion carries 5-0. Any comments?
Yeah, Andre, I kind of know what it's like for you doing your job. You remind me of the dispatchers in our police station when a big call comes in and they have 10 screens in front of them and 10 phones are going off, and you're doing a super job balancing all that. So I applaud you for that. And I really applaud all the people who have come forward via texts, emails, calling in, all of the above for their comments.
Thank you, Mark. Sven?
Since we're complimenting, I do really want to compliment Marianne and the operators and Martha, excuse me, because I think we've made a lot of headway and I don't want to lose that headway. This was not the intent. I don't want to lose credibility, not the intent. And I hope that everybody realizes that we're all looking for better, safer, and a healthier year. So thank you, Marianne, and thank you, Martha, and the operators.
Andre, may I interrupt for a moment? This is Millie.
It's Millie.
I just want to point out that there is still a motion on the table that Keith put out about continuing for 30 days, and it was seconded. So we're probably looking for a motion or a statement to withdraw that motion from Keith.
So Keith, your first motion that you made is up, still on the table.
Was to continue until March 1st?
No, the first one you made. So, and Sven seconded. So Sven wants to help you out on that one. I don't know.
I'll remove this. So Millie, just to make sure, the March 1st one went through. This was before it.
That's correct.
I'll move my second on the open-ended.
Millie, do you want to repeat that motion so they know what you're talking about? Would that be helpful?
Well, it would be
Bill.
helpful if I could be
Speaking of
Sorry.
herding cats.
Now you're on the spot.
Yeah, well, I will give you my, my crib notes here. Mr. Stover made a motion to continue the item for 30 day, the moped renewals for 30 days pending conversations with conversations regarding the moped ordinance and discussions over code of conduct. And the item was then seconded by Ben.
I removed my second.
And I withdraw the motion.
Can
Thank
you
you.
repeat the, Millie, just for me, can you repeat the motion that was passed 5-0, just to make sure we're all on the same page?
Sure. The motion was to continue the renewals, the moped renewals to March 1st.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just want to make sure there was no other language. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Andre. Nice job. Second.
I think we all contribute, but I appreciate that. Second by motion to adjourn, seconded by Sven. Thank you, staff, by the way.
Oh,
Keith? Almost.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, really? So soon? Mark?
Aye.
And Martha?
Aye.
And I'm in favor of adjourning. Motion carries. See you all in the next meeting.